So when I was 22, I went around the world and found every young person I could that had built big social media pages, from fitness to sports to gaming to lifestyle, hired all of them, brought them all to the same office. A lot of companies are considered disruptive. At least in our case, it's because we were really naive and we didn't read the books we were meant to read. Instead of accepting convention and what convention says, you think about what you're faced with right now and you try and solve it based on information you have right now. It was not a good decision to walk into an old warehouse when I was 21 years old, and the first thing I did when I had 3 members of staff was pay 13 grand for a slide. It wasn't like hindsight's a wonderful thing, and it's a good thing I didn't have a CFO then, but paying 13 grand for a slide is a terrible decision for a startup, especially a startup making a loss at the time. But this is the naivety, right? And the naivety, sometimes it leads you into doing good things, and sometimes you think, convention on that point was actually right. The key thing I've always found, is investors invest in people. And I remember my first ever investor sat me in a hotel in London and said, Steve, I'll be honest with you, I don't really know what you do. And he'd invested by this point, but I know that you're going to do something good. And then he invested, and then my other investors followed the same track. But when I invest in companies now myself, I know, and I've invested in good ideas before, a good idea with a bad entrepreneur is a bad idea. I know that it all comes down to the person, and I focus on investing in a really good person. So you need to sell yourself just as much as you need to sell your idea. I'm a big advocate in build your personal brand when you've got something to talk about. I couldn't have started speaking when I was 18 because I had nothing to talk about, really. Nothing of interest anyway, no one would have followed me. And now I'll never talk about parenthood because I'm not a dad and I don't know what that's like. I will just talk about the things I've been through, and hopefully those things resonate with people. And also, the personal brand thing in the modern world, because of the way the world and the internet has changed, everybody in here has a personal brand. Whether you acknowledge it or you ignore it, you do have a personal brand, and it's not about how many followers you have, it's about how you're presenting who you are, the work you do, and the way you think online. So it comes down to what you've written in your Instagram or your Facebook bio. And the creative thing in the modern world is that personal brand is having real world impacts on you.
Been trying, to varying degrees of success to compete in an extremely commercial world, almost with our hands tied behind our back, because, I told you the early stages of employing people from homeless backgrounds, but 5.5 years into that, the realities are it does come with a lot of challenges, and there's a lot of support that's required to go around that employment for that to succeed, and you have to be a lot more patient than you would typically be as a strictly commercial employer. So that's one big challenge, is trying to disrupt in that commercial landscape. I found that over the last 6 years since we set up Social Bite, just so many little miracles in the forms of people intervening to support and keep us on the track. And we've had so many companies from the construction industry and financial donors and people from all walks of life getting behind that project.
I think that's all we've got time for now, guys. I'm really sorry. Thank you very much for coming.